just don't know what's in my heart and why I love you so. I love you, baby, like a mine of love gold. Oh, sugar, let the good time go.
Hello, welcome to a video on how to use Solidworks to make parts to cut on our laser cutter at Johns Hopkins. Okay, so here's Solidworks. The first thing you want to do if you don't have it is to get it. So you can just get it from WSEIT and about WSEIT software downloads. Software by manufacturer. You might have to log in with your Jet ID here, and here's Solidworks. Okay, you can get the latest version, which actually this isn't the latest version, but it's the latest version that we have, and install it. It only will run on a Windows operating system, but once you get that installed, you should be able to run it, and this is what you would get when you first open it up. Now there's some tutorials over here, which I strongly encourage you to go through if you've never used SolidWorks before. I would go start with this one, Introduction to SolidWorks, then go to this one, Parts, and then go to this one, Drawings. And that should give you what you need to make some drawings that we can then upload to the laser cutter. Okay, so that's just in tutorials right here. Okay, so to make a drawing to cut on the laser cutter, we start by creating a part. So go to New Document, Part. Okay. All right, now to create a part, we need to create a sketch. So we go to Sketch. We need to pick a plane. Let's just use the top plane. And now we'll use some tools up here to create a part. So imagine this is the part that you need. Okay, and there we go. Okay, and now we need to give it some dimensions. So we go up to Smart Dimension, and we can click here. And let's say we want that edge to be 3 inches. We want this edge to be 3 inches. We want this edge to be 4.5. We want this edge to be, let's say, 1 3/4. Okay, and that should give us everything that we need, okay, because these points are set for us, okay, by these dimensions here. So we're good to go. So we stop that. And now what we want to do is we want to extrude this. So we go to Features, Extruded, Boss or Base, click on that. Okay, and here it's asking for a thickness, okay? Since these are parts we're going to cut on the laser cutter, the thickness is not going to matter. So you can use just the default thickness. Okay, and so there is one part. Let's say we want to put some holes in it for screws or shafts. Okay, we can go back to Sketch. Sketch. It's going to ask for a plane that we want to use. So we'll click here. Let's put some holes in, which will be circles. Let's say we want one here and we want one here. Okay, and now we need to dimension these holes. So go back to Smart Dimension. Let's say we want this hole to be 1/2 inch in diameter, okay? And we want the center of this hole to be, let's say, 1 inch from the edge here, and from the bottom edge, let's say we wanted it to be, notice I'm just clicking in the corner here, in the center here, dragging it across. We want this to be 2 inches, okay? And then for this one, let's say for whatever reason, we want this to be 1/4 diameter here, and we want it to be from this corner, let's see, 2.5 inches, and in this direction, let's say we want it to be 1 inch. Okay. Okay, so now we have our holes, the right diameter and the right location. So now what we want to do is we want to cut these holes. So let's go to Features, and we want to do an extruded cut here. And now if we rotate it a little bit, you can see where it's going. We want it to go all the way through and check. Okay, and so now we have our holes. Okay, great. So let's say that this is our first part and we're happy with it. Now what we want to do is we want to make a drawing from it. Okay, you could save it first, but if you go to File, Make Drawing from Part, it will ask you to save it. So save, and we're going to save it. Let me just put it on my desktop here. Make sure there's nothing incriminating for you to see. Okay, good. And let's just call this Plate 1. Okay, and here's the extension because it's a SolidWorks part. So we'll say save. Okay, and now since we asked to make a drawing from it, it's now pulling up the drawing information and saying what kind of sheet do you want to use. We don't want any of these standard formats because they all have these templates built into them. For engineering drawings, we would want those, but for making a part on the laser cutter, we don't. So we want to do a custom size sheet, and the width of the laser cutter is, I believe, 32 inches, and the height is, I believe, 18 inches. Okay, so that gives us the bed of the laser cutter. We don't have to make it that big if we don't want to, but that's as big as we could make it. So click OK. Okay, and now here's the bed of our laser cutter, and you'll see now we've got all these views that we can drag by clicking on one and dragging it over. Okay, and there we go. Now that's the only view we need. So all these other views, we can just hit escape and we're done with those. Okay, so now we have to do a few things with this drawing before we're ready to actually print it on the laser cutter. So first we need to make sure it's the right scale. So if you right click on the part, you'll see here it says scale, use sheet scale or use custom scale. This is set for 2:1. We want it to be actual size, so we go use custom scale, make it 1:1. Okay. All right, and this looks appropriate because remember this edge is 3 inches and this is 18 by 32, so that looks about the right size. Okay, the second thing you want to do is you want to get rid of any of these cross or center marks if they're present. Okay, your setup might not be set to include those automatically like mine is, but if they're there, you just want to get rid of them. You don't want anything to show up on your drawing except what the laser is actually going to cut. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to change the thickness of the lines and the colors of the lines. Okay, so to do that, the easiest thing to do is go up here to customize, and you want to make sure that you've checked this one option, which is selection filter, and that will bring up all these little icons down here. Okay, so I have mine already checked, so I'm good there. You also want to make sure that you've got here line format, this one checked as well, and that will bring up these icons up here. Okay, so I'm good. And now what we're going to do is we just want to select the edges. So if you go to this icon, it says filter edges. So you click on that and then you just highlight the entire model, and all the edges will appear or should appear as blue lines. This is very important if you're doing, say, a gear that has lots and lots and lots and lots of little tiny lines. You don't want to have to pick each line individually, so you want to use this filter. Okay, and then what we need to do is we need to change the color. So we go over here to the little bucket and paintbrush line color, and we need to make them red. Red. That means the laser cutter, it'll see that they're red, and it tells the laser cutter that's a line I want to cut. Okay, so now it's red. Then the last thing we need to do is we need to make these lines very thin. Okay, if we go down here and we see that the thinnest we can make them is 0.0071 inches. Okay, yours might be in millimeters, and if that's the case, you want to change it to inches. And to do that, you can go down here, just click and go to IPS for inch pound second. Okay, so we want to change that. To do that, we go back up here to options, document properties, okay, line thickness, and we want to change this thickness from the minimum one from 0.0071 to 0.002. Okay, 0.002 inches. Okay. Now let's grab all the edges again. Now you see this has been updated to 0.002 inches. Click on that. Okay, and now they're a lot thinner than they were before. Okay, let's save this. So we'll just save as. We're back on the desktop. It recognizes it's a drawing. All right, we'll just save it as a drawing. And then what you can do is save it onto a flash drive, bring it over to the laser cutter. And when you go to the laser cutter and open this up in SolidWorks, you'll just go here to the printer and select to print it. And the laser cutter is one of the options. And once you've had laser cutter training, you'll know how to use it. Okay, but this is how you make just a simple two-dimensional part for the laser cutter. Okay, I'm gonna record another video in just a second because this took longer than I thought, which will show you how to make gears on the laser cutter. All right, so that's all for now. I'll see you in a second.